Now to the aftermath of the weeks of protest and disruption in the nation's capital. The trucks are out of the downtown core, and some of the organizers have been denied bail, at least for now. David Aiken reports.
Even as she was being arrested, Freedom Convoy organizer Tamara Leach called on her supporters to hold the line.
We'll see you soon, Tamara. Hold the line.
That and other calls to action Leach made during her 3 weeks at the center of the occupation of Ottawa were at the heart of a judge's decision Tuesday to keep Leach behind bars and deny her bail request until her trial begins on the single charge of counseling to commit the offense of mischief. It is a charge which carries the potential of 10 years or more in prison. There is no doubt here, the judge told Leach. On conviction, you are certainly facing a potentially lengthy term of imprisonment. Convoy co-organizer Pat King faces similar charges. He's been in jail since he was arrested Friday.
Please step out of the vehicle, sir.
Prosecutors want to deny bail to King as well. A judge will decide on that on Friday. The proceedings in court occurred as Ottawa continued in recovery mode. A downtown core still under police restrictions, but largely free of any protesters. And while MPs are back in their ridings, senators started debating the Federal Emergencies Act, with a focus on the fact that authorities have frozen more than 200 personal and commercial bank accounts containing a combined $7 million.
They still need the tools, the economic measures that are designed to limit financial support for these illegal blockades. They continue to play an important role.
And even though officials said the process has started to unfreeze some accounts, opponents say the government has failed to provide the evidence needed to justify such extraordinary powers.
You know, Senator Gold, you'll excuse some of us if we just simply don't believe the rhetoric that we are being given by the government.
If a majority in the Senate do not support the government's invocation of the Emergencies Act, any extraordinary powers being used by law enforcement will immediately cease. David Aiken, Global News, Ottawa.
In Ottawa, the protesters, the honking, and the trucks are gone, but some police checkpoints are still in place. Mike Armstrong spent the day speaking to people who have waited for weeks to get back to regular life.
Nick, my important one or two.
It didn't quite feel like a regular day, but Michael Hannes is very happy to be back at work. The Brasserie Metropolitaine was closed for weeks, and Hannes was stuck at home with protesters outside.
The best way I can describe it, it was like there was a lawnmower in my living room 24 hours a day, and then we got shut down here at work, so we lost 3 weeks of pay, 4 weeks of pay, so it was terrible.
This was the scene outside the Brasserie during the protest. Management did open for Valentine's Day, but says it wasn't worth it financially or emotionally.
We were still dealing with the incessant noise, the fireworks, the honking, the drinking, the people urinating and defecating on the patio.
A lot of businesses in Ottawa's Byward Market stayed open during the protest, but lost money. Public transportation was shut down, meaning people couldn't make it, and a lot of the ones who could were nervous. Eric Gary didn't close, but he lost about 80% of his customers.
People were scared to come down, so we have minimum. We basically were open not to stay at home and go crazy.
Now, life is still far from back to normal. The security zone around Parliament Hill is smaller, but it's still a chunk of downtown that's surrounded by an 8-foot fence and police checkpoints.
It's just been insane.
These men live in the security zone and ventured out for the first time Tuesday, still a little in shock.
It was really brutal. There was no police, there was no... Neighbors were caring for each other, but we were forgotten.
As if this area hadn't been through enough, there was a police operation on this day. The mall that's been closed for 3 weeks was closed again for a suspected armed shoplifter. People who had been out of work were out on the streets. A lot of people in this city were shaking their heads, wondering what's next. The return to normalcy isn't a straight line. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Ottawa.